the summer. Summer is here, and that means there's time for those do-it-yourself projects. But you know what? Those projects can go awry very quickly. So Dr. Stephen Tucker from the San Antonio Orthopedic Group is here. I got to ask you, what was the last do-it-yourself project you've done?
I don't do a lot of the big outdoor projects, but I change the grips on my golf clubs, and that does involve gasoline and sharp knives. So that's my best DIY project.
Okay. The gasoline, all right, there you go, sharp knives, living on the edge. What was the last injury you had on a do-it-yourself project?
Well, if you count cooking as DIY.
Oh, I do. Yes.
I cut a nerve and a tendon about 20 years ago.
Oh, my gosh, but that's the worst, right?
That's the worst for me.
Okay, so we're talking safety today with do-it-yourself projects, and what can go wrong?
Oh, all kinds of things can go wrong. Before you start, you want to make sure you know what you're doing. You want to make sure you know your tools. So if you've just gone out and bought that new tool and you're really excited about it, don't just jump in and use it. Grab the instruction manual, read it carefully. If you're borrowing a neighbor's tool, ask him how to use it.
You hear that, guys? Read the instructions. Otherwise, it's like going into war with an unproven weapon.
It's like asking for directions. We don't want to do it if we don't have to.
So you have to remember that. Okay, you've got some examples here of dangerous tools.
All tools have the potential to be dangerous, but these are sort of the big four.
Okay.
First is the table saw. The table saw blade spins at about 108 miles per hour and sends about 30,000 people a year to the hospital. So it's important that when you're using the table saw, you know where your hands are, you make sure you don't have people around you, and it's a good idea to have what's called a pusher board or a feather board to direct the wood into the saw. The chainsaw is kind of the big daddy of all DIY injuries.
Get out of my way. Okay.
The average chainsaw injury, I've read, takes about 100 stitches to close, and the average chainsaw injury costs about $12,000.
Wow.
So invest in a pair of chainsaw chaps that prevent you from cutting yourself or reduce the risk. Make sure when you're using the chainsaw, you know where that limb is going to fall. My assistant was cutting limbs above his head. The limb fell back in a way he didn't expect, hit the chainsaw, hit his arm, and cut his radial nerve.
So you want to know where those limbs are going to fall and make sure your limbs are out of the way.
It's always best to have the limbs falling below you, not above you.
Okay.
The ladder can really be your best friend. You don't want to stand on stools, countertops, buckets, things like that. But a ladder has to be used properly. It's usually marked how high to go safely. If you go above that, you lose your balance. When you lose your balance, particularly if you've got a power tool in your hand, that's when the worst injuries occur. The ladder sends almost 150,000 people a year to the emergency room. So you have to be really careful with the ladder, but it is your friend if you use it carefully.
And just don't walk under it.
Yep. Now,
okay, so you got the nail gun.
The nail gun. The nail gun is something...
I've never used one.
Well, we didn't have them when I was growing up, at least not for DIY people. But nail guns are easily available. With a nail gun, it shoots a nail at 120 pounds per square inch. That's enough to penetrate at least 3 inches of wood. There's two types of nail guns. One of them is a sequential trigger. You fire it like a gun. That's the safe one. The other one is for professionals only. It's a contact gun. You press the tip, and the nail shoots out. Well, you can imagine, with this nail going, if you press the tip against something unexpected, this is what can happen.
What?
Oh, no.
Oh, yo.
And thankfully, this is just a thumb and a nerve.
All right.
I've seen nail guns go into skull, jaw, and other places I don't want to talk about.
Okay, so real quick before we wrap up here, one thing that people need to think about is the safety on tools.
Right. Every tool, most tools these days have safety measures incorporated into them. And if you leave them there, it won't prevent all injuries, but most. I can't tell you how many times I've been in the ER talking to someone and they've said, well, yeah, I took the guard off, but I've done that way for years. Well, sure, because the first time you injure yourself, you'll stop doing that.
You'll stop doing
That's right.
You'll learn the hard way. So
Absolutely.
Try not to learn the hard way. For more information on the San Antonio Orthopedic Group, just call 210-804-5400. Again, that's 804-5400. Or just head to the website, TSAOG.com. We'll be right back after this.